Hi everybody! Halfway there. Welcome to day 18 of the Summer Scrappin Series. It's Audrey. Today my guest is Lisa Fonseca, and she has a fantastic YouTube channel. I think she's relatively new to YouTube, maybe in the past couple months, but her pages are absolutely beautiful. So please go check out her channel. I think you'll like her videos. So I am going to start here in Silhouette Studio, and I am drawing a rectangle that is the size of my photo, which is about 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I wanted to do something with some vellum and create a circle through die cut through vellum that kind of just highlighted a portion of my photo. And you'll see in a minute when I show you the photo, the portion obviously that's going to be kind of highlighted with a circle. And my plan is to put kind of a busy patterned paper behind it so that the pattern is a little bit dulled by the vellum. And I love tucking things underneath vellum and then having them stick kind of like halfway out from the vellum. And then you get to see, the whole portion and then a little bit softer portion under the vellum. And I'm also going to add a cutout design to the bottom of the vellum too. This doesn't really work out great the way I wanted it to, but I think the idea was pretty cool, but it just didn't work out with the paper I used. Anyway, I am using a cut file from the Paper Issues store, and it's just a whole bunch of waves. And I deleted the long ones because I'm only going to have like a strip of vellum down the middle of my page, so I only wanted a couple waves. So I'm going to kind of arrange them how I want them, and then trace them, and then delete all the black image part. I love these little waves. The whole background actually as it was would have been a really cool background for a page too, but like I said, I just wanted a couple little ones. And I'm going to overlap that here. I just copied and pasted it from one screen to the next. And I'm trying to position them so that they don't cut the big long rectangle, the 12-inch tall rectangle I have, in half. So if I had one of the waves going all the way across that rectangle, I'm not sure if you can see the big rectangle in the middle. It's 6 inches across by 12 inches down. But I wanted to make sure that it wasn't cut apart in half by those waves. So I'm kind of strategically placing them around the edges. And I deleted the square where my photo went, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this from vellum. So there's my photo, and there's some of the pattern papers I picked out, some busy pattern papers. This is not from a summer collection, by the way. These are some Pink Fresh Studio papers, but I really love the colors. I thought the colors were kind of summery. And yeah, so I was just going through my stuff, and I happened to pass through this as I was going through, and I'm like, you know what, let me use this because it looks kind of pretty. So here is my cut file that I cut from the vellum, and I was trying to be very careful because, the vellum can be very fragile and tear easily. But I also really love these waves that were the negative that were cut out. So I am going to save those, and I can see myself maybe like inking those up or spraying them with some mist and then using them as on a page and stitching over them. So I'm going to save those for another project. I love the way that this pattern paper, that the kind of chevron design here was kind of centered more towards the top, and it wasn't like perfectly in the middle of this pattern paper. So I positioned my photo on this piece of scrap that I had so that the arrows were all pointing right towards the photo. And I'm going to put like where the kids are jumping right over the intersection of all those arrows there. So I liked the pattern paper in the background. I loved this too, this aqua, and I thought that showed the die cut waves much better from the vellum. But I also really love the pattern, and I love the colors in the pattern. And then I thought about maybe doing the pattern on the top and then the vellum and the solid on the bottom, because like I said, you could see the waves much better through the solid paper with the vellum over it. But in the end, I just decided to leave the pattern paper. So you kind of lose the detail of the waves in this design when you have such a busy pattern underneath it. But that's okay because I end up covering it all up with a lot of embellishments anyway. But I think I'm going to try that technique again some other time with, cutting vellum and then having it over kind of a solid paper like that. So I wanted to add a little bit of a border to the edges here because I thought it was kind of plain. So I played around with these kind of wood grain cuts a little bit, and I just tore them. I love the look of wood grain with summer pictures. I think I just mentioned this in another video too. And again, I think it's because like I have a lot of docs in my pages and they have the wood in them. And actually this wood grain paper really matches the doc in my photo perfectly. And then I like to tear them because I think the edges of a torn paper like that really remind me of like waves and white caps and just kind of the organic movement of waves. Okay, so this is the part that kind of takes me a while. I'm going through a whole bunch of different summer things and I'm playing around with these pattern papers and I'm trying to start embellishing. I want to keep my embellishments kind of to a minimum because the patterns are really busy and there's a lot of detail with the vellum and the torn edges, and I didn't really want to take away too much from the photo. So I first thought I would try cutting out these triangles from this Pink Fresh Studio paper, which I really love this piece of paper and I really love these triangles. I don't think I would use this piece of paper as is. I don't know, maybe I would. But anyway, I'm just cutting out a whole bunch of triangles and I put them on and I just don't like it at all. So I'm going to take those off. I thought the triangles would maybe pick up on the shape of the chevron in the background, but it's just, I don't know. It was too many straight lines. Okay, so I took out some Cocoa Vanilla Studio summer collections. I can't remember, maybe it's just Happy Summer or Happy Days or something like that. Oh, it's Hello Sunshine. I can see it now on the sticker sheet. And another one of their collections too, I had some embellishments from, but I was just playing around with those. I kind of liked this yellow card. I have a hard time using these 3x4 cards on pages a lot, or even the 4x6 ones especially, unless they're underneath a photo or something as a layer, but I kind of liked the look of this, and I'm going to force myself to use it because, like I said, I don't use these cards a lot on that size, just like they are. I pulled out a piece of flare that said make a splash. I loved that, but I did not like the navy because the other colors were so soft. So I'm going to kind of ditch the navy idea. And I had the navy anchor, you can see on the left there. That was also from that Cocoa Vanilla collection as well. But I remembered I had this piece of paper I just used recently on a page, and it had a whole bunch of different color anchors on it. And it's an old Studio Calico paper from their collection called Atlantic. And this pink anchor was the perfect color. So it brings in a little bit of the nautical theme, and but isn't as bold as the navy. And instead I found a little tag that said make a splash, so I think I'm going to use that as well. When I pulled out the other Pink Fresh Studio things I had these cute little wood veneers, and I'm going to try to incorporate those too. So I wanted to add a little bit of color to my background because I just thought that the edges of the wood grain were just really, had a stark contrast against the white. And this piece of paper was one that I had already gessoed. It was from leftover gesso that I had used to cover up another page that I also recently did. And I took the leftover gesso and covered a piece of white cardstock. Well, this is that piece of white cardstock. So it's already gessoed. So I just spritzed it with a little water and went over it with a kind of like a mint green gelato. And then I rubbed in a little bit of the gold gelato. My gold gelato kind of looks green. I think it's because my kids were using it, and because I let them use my gelatos sometimes, and it had some like residue green on it from, they probably kind of colored over it. But anyway, I just smudged it in and it came out fine. I kind of like how those colors look. And then I splattered some Mr. Huey's mist. I think that color is called Water Cooler. That's an old one. It's actually almost gone. I can't believe it. And then I just kind of wet the tip of my gelato and then splattered with a paintbrush. And I love the little bit of color along the edge there. However, I thought it was still a little boring. So I thought some white kind of splotches might be fun, like little splash looking like things. So I found this stencil, and this stencil I actually made. And this is a cut file from the Just Nick store. And I bought stencil material, and you can find stencil material in like the wood painting section of like Hobby Lobby or a craft store, and they have blank stencil material, and it cuts right in your, well, it cuts right in my Cameo. So I cut that cut file out with my silhouette, and I went over it with some modeling paste, and that adds some nice texture in the background. So I was looking through my stash and trying to find some other yellow elements because I wanted to pick up on the yellow from the tag that said Hello Sunshine, and I could not find what I was looking for. I did not get a lot of the pattern papers in that collection that Hello Sunshine card is from, so I didn't have any yellow from that collection. So I looked and looked through other collections, and I just couldn't find the exact colors I wanted, and then I thought to myself, you know what, I'm just going to make my own. So I took out some watercolor paper, and I'm just going through with my watercolors here. This is just a little cheapy set I actually got on Amazon Prime Day for cheap. And so yeah, I'm going to color that and let that dry. I'm hoping to punch out maybe a sunshine shape or something from it to add to the top of my page, because I'll have the card on the bottom that says Hello Sunshine. So I'm going to start gluing some stuff down here. I glue my photo to its mat, and then put the vellum, and then glue that to the pattern paper, the chevron pattern paper, and then I'm going to just add a tiny bit of adhesive along the edges of this vellum here and center that over my photo. And voila. Then I went through and stitched with some teal color thread around the circle, and I love what that did because that really made that circle stand out more. And then glued those strips on, so there is that portion. Okay, so what am I going to do with this embellishing? I haven't really gotten far in that regard. I like the background, I like the papers I'm using, I like the photo, I like this card, but I have to figure out something for the embellishments here. The anchor is pretty much the only thing I have right now. So I had set to the side a piece of paper you can see here on the right, and it was that navy anchor. Well, this was the back of that piece of paper, and it was sitting there, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of like those flowers. I wonder how they would look if I fussy cut some out and put them along the edges here, or tucked them underneath the anchor, or tucked them underneath the vellum, or all of the above. So I spent some time fussy cutting out a whole bunch of those flowers, and I love what they do for the page. I love that they bring in a little bit of white from the background, and I love the dark lines in them, and I like the flow that it creates across the page. So I just scatter those around, and I'm happy with that. And here's where I'm going to play around with adding a yellow element. I am kicking myself for having stitched everything down before I added something up there when I knew I was going to add something up there. See, this is why I don't do things like I lay it all out first and then go through and glue everything down or stitch everything down, because there's always something that I forget to add on or whatever. So, but I made it work. I just cut the sunshine in half, and then I add a few other little clusters of things over it, and you can't even see that there's a seam there. So I thought I would punch a few tiny starburst shapes from this watercolor paper that I made, and just to bring in a little bit more of the yellow around the page, because I really love the yellow. It's so pretty, and just little accents of it. And I got to figure out where to put that. I think putting it on top of the photo kind of took away. This is, like I said, this is kind of unusual for me to layer bigger phrase cards like this on a page, but it was kind of working, so I was going to go with it. And I love the little wood border that just kind of softens the edge of that blue tag there, and of course I had to bring in other wood pieces in groups of 3, so I put a little banner piece at the top of the photo that says Good Life, and then I put another little wood veneer piece to the right of the anchor that's a heart. And then a couple brads tucked under the vellum, and a piece of flare. That flare is from Cocoa Vanilla. And then I don't add too much more in terms of embellishments. A couple of these little phrases I cut out from this piece of pattern paper and just tucked them in here and there. And that's about it. So just going to go through and glue everything down. I didn't even pop dot these flowers off. I just glued them right down as they were. I do go back through and add some stitching around the Hello Sunshine just because it was kind of plain. So I machine stitched around that. Now you can see it just in white, but just to kind of make it stand off a little bit more. I'm going to pop that off the page with some craft foam and layer that on, and the rest is just me gluing pretty much. So this photo is actually taken from last summer, 2016, and it's my kiddos and two of their cousins jumping off the end of the dock. And it's funny because I took almost the exact same photo this year, and they're not sitting in the same order, and I kind of wish they were, but at least now I'll know that they're from different years when I look at the when I look at the photos. But they just swim all day and jump and do fancy jumps and Mommy, watch this jump, and then there's a jumping competition and who does the best turn, and but they just swim and play for hours and hours. It's so good for them. I love to see them do that. And they don't get to see their cousins very much because they live in North Carolina and we live in New York, so we only get to see them once or twice a year maybe, so it's fun when we do get to see them. Okay, so just gluing all this stuff on. I love tucking the flowers halfway underneath the vellum and then having some stick out a little bit too. And I also have a little tiny leaf that I'm tucking out from underneath the wood grain paper, and I do one on the top and one on the bottom. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to speed up the rest of this portion here because, like I said, it's just me gluing. I had considered adding some sequins to the page, and actually I still might go back and add a few in because that would bring a little bit of sparkle to the page, but I've been using sequins on every page. So I just was like, yeah, maybe I'll kind of leave this page alone, but it would look pretty with sequins. I've been on a sequin kick. Last little bit here, I added some gold Heidi Swap Color Shine and sticking another brad in there. I do go back, I don't think I put this on video, but I added in a little label at the top of the photo for my date, and that wraps it up. Oh yeah, little piece of twine for the anchor. And that's the end. So there is the finished page. You can really see the texture there in this photo with that stencil in the background and a few close-ups. I'm happy with the way this came out. It was not what I had in my head to begin with. I mean, part of it was, this wasn't what I had anticipated it to be, but I love these layers and these flowers, and I love the vellum, and I gotta use vellum more. I love the way it looks on a page. So thank you so much for watching today and stopping by, and stay scrappy, my friends, and I will see you for tomorrow's video.